I have received another package, and this time it's from our good buddy up in Oregon. That fella right there. Now, he thought I forgot him. You know, last video I showed a couple of things I had received through the mail, and I didn't cover his. And he says, "What about mine? What about mine?" We'll filter it on in there, not a problem. I'm not going to forget old Buzz. How can you forget Buzz? My God, but anybody carries a gut like that, you know, that's almost what do they call that? World champion type stuff, you know. Guinness Book of World Record stuff, you know. Anyway, old Buzz, we're caught up with you, buddy, and we're going to show everybody what's in this box. So let me go ahead and open it up. Alright, it was wrapped in newspaper. Let's finish unwrapping it right here. Stick that over there. Let's see what this is now. Well, just what I needed. A cigar. Let me get this thing folded out to where we can read it. Now this is interesting. Dear John, I hope you enjoy your retirement. Here's a little gift that Dickel and I decided to send you. I bought a box of cigars in 1984 for the birth of my first son. I handed them out to my coworkers and had lots of extras. Since I didn't know you in 1984, I sent you this well-aged cigar for your achievement of being a retired man. I'm not so sure that's an achievement. Signed, Buzz and Dickel. How about that? Man, I don't know anybody that hung on a cigar that long. Well, I am honored. You know, this is kind of a... Well, first of all, I'm going to say, congratulations, Buzz, on the birth of your first child. That is really great. Great achievement. And, of course, my achievement being retirement. I tell you what, son, that's still out. You know, the jury's still out on that. Well, I'm just going to keep this. I'm not going to smoke it. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to keep it rolled up in this note. And we're going to find some kind of tube to put that thing in. And I have just the place where we're going to put that after we get the old shop completely set up. Well, thank you there. I appreciate it. You and Dickel both. Well, folks, we all know what that means. Shout out to Buzz and Dickel. For those of you who keep up with my videos, you know that last time we plugged in the old power cord into our smoker, our electric smoker, and it worked very well. The fix is in, as they say. Let me show you what the connector pin looks like. There is not a single burn mark down in there. Isn't that cool? If I can get this camera to focus, there we go. There's not a single burn mark down there. Now that makes me feel real good. And the connector itself, this was the one on the left was the burnt one. Let me zoom in here. Come on, camera. Zoom in, you little turkey. Well, she doesn't want to zoom right now. Don't ask me why. But anyway, that one there was real black and burned, and there's no burn marks on it either. So I'm pretty happy. Anyway, what's left of the old chicken that we smoked a few days ago in hickory wood, Wifey's going to go ahead and put it in her electric crock pot and boil it on down. She's going to make us a nice chicken soup out of the bones and what's left. And that's really going to be good. I love that kind of stuff, especially if the meat has been smoked. Makes a great chicken soup. And meanwhile, I've gone ahead and cleaned up the inside of the smoker. I recommend that if you have a smoker that's electric, you know, a lot of people, they just keep using it over and over and over and over. They never clean anything. They just caked up with black crap and more black crap, and it just goes on and on. I don't know. I've always considered that to be unhealthy. I prefer between each smoking to take the racks out, take everything out, wipe, you know, to put them in the sink, scrub them all down. I spray them with that Pam high temperature spray before I smoke, so it makes it easy to get all that crap off. Just scrub it on down in the sink and it comes right off. And then I wipe with a damp cloth, you know, a little bit more than damp. I know it dries out. I don't use it sopping wet, of course, but wipe down the walls, the roof, the bottom, and the door, underneath the edges of the doors, everything. And clean it all out, let it dry for a few minutes, and then start putting your racks back in with the tin foil where it needs to go. Makes for a nice clean setting for the next time you smoke a chicken. And we will be smoking that chicken in a couple of days, and this is what we're going to be smoking it in this time. Good old mesquite wood. Yeah, we picked up a couple bags of that at Walmart yesterday. Wifey did while she was down there. We're good to go for a while on mesquite. For those of you who live overseas, you may not have ever heard, some of you may not have ever heard of mesquite wood. It's wood that's grown in the deserts out west, and I don't think I've ever seen it anywhere else. And it's, you know, it's pretty much in demand. In some places it's very expensive. So this is it's kind of a reddish kind of wood. It makes a great tasting smoked chicken. It does pretty good on roasts and ribs too, okay? But it's great. Anyway, I have another chore I've got to get done now. Well, today on the agenda was to try to install that door in our shop, since I have everything cleaned out of the old shed now and in this building. I can start concentrating on it. But we were going to put the new door in the shop that leads out into the garage part. But let me show you something. A couple times a year, the county sends out bush hogs or large mowers, and they mow along the sides of the roads out in the country. Well, I think that's pretty nice of them to do that. You know, it keeps down the bugs and keeps down the weeds. Anyway, keeps down the snakes. There's our snakes out here. But anyway, this big old tractor will come along with a bush hog in the back, and he does every road in the county, it seems like. That's all he does all day long, is ride that mower or that big tractor with the bush hog, and he goes all the way down here and any other road he comes to. Kind of neat. Now, he doesn't have to do my side and several other sides because we keep it mowed. Well, let me show you what that resulted in this time. Wifey saw that guy running up and down the road this morning, and she jumped up, got in the car, and went down after him. And she gets down to the guy and she says, "Hey, there is a ditch between our yard and the neighbor's yard that the water comes. It comes from the hillside over here. There's a big hill the other side of these trees. It comes down, it flows through this pipe right here, and then it drains down a ditch between our two properties and into the creek behind our house." She said, "Would you mind bringing your bush hog down and trimming up the edge of that creek for us, because the weeds and the small trees are getting awfully big, and I'm afraid it's going to clog the ditch and it won't drain properly." And the guy said, "Well, yeah, sure, that sounds like a great idea, because if that pipe gets clogged, the road will overflow with water during heavy rains. And we'll be out there trying to unclog it anyway." So he showed, well, see, I didn't know anything about this, because my plan is to build a door today. Well, he shows up, and this is what he did. He trimmed the entire creek. Can you believe this? Oh, no, it's not a creek, it's an entire ditch. He trimmed it all the way down with his little bush hog. And of course, what happened? Well, it clogged the ditch. So I looked at Wifey and I said, "You know, you really didn't accomplish anything, because now the ditch is clogged." And she says, "Well, go out there and unclog it." Oh, jeez. I tell you, I need to be like RW. He's the big dog honcho in his house. Nothing happens there without his okay. He told me that. Anyway, that's what I'll be doing probably for the next couple hours. All I have to do is rake it into the yard out of the ditch. And then over the next couple of days, I can pick it up, put it in the pickup truck, and take it back over here to where our burn pile is still growing. Well, half of it is done. We have amassed a great pile of crap. It's pretty well cleaned out all the way down to right here. And, you know, I'm kind of happy that Wifey went ahead and had this done, actually, because I love working out in 4,000% humidity. Well, almost all of it's done, about 7/8 of it all the way back. We got it pretty well cleaned, but a lot of work to do. Wifey came out to browbeat me and cheer me on, didn't you, baby?
Yep.
Yep. Get to work, John, get to work, right?
Yeah, good job.
Good job, yeah. All we got left really is this little bit right here. Down the other side of those, the thicker part there is where the creek is. So, oh man, I'll tell you what, this has been no fun at all, and I'm not even done yet. The second thing I received came from a fellow coworker. His name is Eric. You met him in one video a few years ago, and he worked with me for, gosh, I got years and years, and then they finally got around to making the guy a lead person. The job came open, he applied for it, and he got selected, and I was glad to see that. Of course, along with the job comes a lot of headaches that none of the rest of us wanted. He didn't mind. That's okay, he could have it. And let's open this up and see what's in it. He handed it to me the day before I retired. Well, it's a set of books. Of course, I knew that. I could feel it in the bag. First one, For Love of Country, What Our Veterans Can Teach Us About Citizenship, Heroism, and Sacrifice. You know, this is the kind of book I wish they would use in high school to teach our citizens what it means to be an American. It's simply not running around the streets acting like a fool, you know, shooting people, you know, causing damage and destruction and burning cities down. That's not what being an American is. Being an American is holding up traditions of our ancestors, and I anticipate this book to be very good. The next book Eric got me was Ronald Reagan, The Last Act, The Final Years and Emerging Legacy of Ronald Reagan. You know, I never really appreciated Ronald Reagan when he was president. I don't know why. To me, he was from the older generation, my dad's generation, and I've always had the opinion that that generation, you know, they would just fight at the drop of a hat. Now, they've since been called the greatest generation. But they were a tough outfit, you know. They handled everything with their fists, or they went to war and shot everybody. That's the way I was looking at it. And Ronald Reagan was part of that group. I didn't vote for the guy, I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, later in years, I had a greater appreciation of him. I remember one time he was at a news conference, and you know, the news media had the same basic thoughts I had. This guy was going to take us to war at any minute. And they were asking questions about, is there a possibility, you know, there'll be a war with Russia, and you know, are you going to invade here? Or do that? And he finally, he looked at the press out there, and he said, wait a minute, guys, I've been in office for 6 months, and I haven't even fired a shot. That was pretty funny. We know what that means. Shout out to my buddy and former lead person at work, Eric. I'm not going to go back out in that heat until tomorrow. I'll be a little more rested and finish up the dish. Meanwhile, I came in and I'm looking at Wifey. She's already cooking the chicken soup. Look at that. Oh, man. Let me smell her. That's going to be really good. I can't wait to have that tonight. I might even make a loaf of homemade bread to go with it. And then, of course, we're getting cucumbers off our plant again. They're starting to get nice and big like they're supposed to be. Well, a few little old tomatoes are beginning to appear on our tomato plants here, but we are far from being able to eat one. At least another month. There's one down in there I'm probably going to have to pull off. It's cracking up. Anyway, I'm not sure we're even going to get more than 4 or 5 out of all these plants. That's big plants. Several blooms, quite a few blooms, but so far just a couple of little tiny small tomatoes. So, Plan B. Arkansas homegrown from Warren, Arkansas. Wifey and I just got back from downtown. She had a doctor appointment, and we swung by our little vegetable stand there. Here they had 2 or 3 in a row, and we picked us up a case of tomatoes. These are beauties, boy. These tomatoes, these suckers are great. Look at the size of that thing. Yeah, every year I show you this. Anyway, there's something like, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There's anywhere from 38 to 40 tomatoes in this box, and they're all really big and red and juicy and ready to make tomato juice out of. 25 bucks. There's 2 layers. Layer on top, layer on the bottom. I went through the bottom layer with the guy that sold them, and anything that didn't look right, he replaced it on the spot. He said, take it out, I'll give you one to take its place. I think that's a good deal. You know, 25 bucks, probably in 5 years from now they'll be selling these things for $40 or whatever. But that's a good buy. While we were there, wifey decided to go ahead and pick up a basket full of young tender squash. This is the way we like them. She slices these things, you know, horizontally like that, and cooks them with onions and some seasoning and fries them up in the pan. I'm telling you, you know, you got to get those young tender ones. You know, you get those big old giant suckers, and this is about the maximum size of yellow squash that we want to cook. I'm not certain how much of that she'll use. Most of them she got her about like this. And she also picked up another basket of tomatoes for our table use and tomato sandwiches. Tomato sandwiches with mayonnaise, you think you died and gone to heaven. Kind of interesting though. Our kids do not like tomatoes. How can you not like tomatoes? Even our grandson, the Karate Kid, does not like tomatoes. Now their mother, Jamie, you know, my daughter-in-law, she's old country girl. She loves all this stuff. Well, change number 1 on the smoking adventure tomorrow. We were going to smoke another chicken using mesquite wood, but wifey has changed my mind. She said, no, let's not do another chicken, let's do a pork roast. So tomorrow we're going to be smoking with mesquite still this pork roast. The rub we're going to be putting on the pork is a combination of this Holy Smokes pork and meat rub, which is really good stuff. And we're going to, believe it or not, we're going to add a little chicken rub to it. I put it in this large container. I had a couple of, you know, small bottles. We're down to about 3/4, and I said, to heck with it. Put it in a large container. It's got a shaker top. Mix your chicken rub a little bit with your pork rub. It doesn't hurt a bit. It gives it that little extra zing and flavor. It's great. And then add a little bit of this smokehouse smoked pepper to it. Not a whole lot. Well, there's the chicken soup. Boy, does that look good, or does that look good, guys. You made some biscuits too, right? Mm-hmm. Can I have biscuit, please? And Mama made some nice biscuits to go with it. I'll put them next to the cucumbers we grew in our garden. At least we're getting something out of that garden. And of course a couple slices of the tomatoes that she bought today for the table. I cannot wait to dig in. I want to put a little pepper on it though. I like a little pepper on my food. I like a little bit. Well, it's the next day and I haven't done a whole lot. I've run around. I made my first trip to a brand new Sam's Club in our town. Checked around and looked at the various options for air conditioners. And I decided to go down and pay Kordsmeyer, the ones that put in the electrical wiring in the shop. They said it would take a couple of days before their secretary was able to, you know, gin the bill up, and then she would send it to me through the mail. I said, nah, I'm not going to wait for that to happen. I just walked in there, and her name is Paula. I just walked in there and told her, how much do I owe you, and took care of it. So now all the wiring belongs to us. Okay, it's all taken care of. While I was in there taking care of the bill on this mess, I asked them, you know, it's an electric company. They have supplies. I said, do you have a ballast that'll work with my one fluorescent light that fails to operate? They said, yeah. Incidentally, they said that they're phasing out, for those of you who might not know, they're phasing out the T12 fluorescent bulbs. They're almost going to go exclusively with T8. And he said, I may not even have a ballast that'll work with the T12s. But he did. And this one here is a lot heavier than this one here. This is what's called an electronic ballast. So I'm going to have to tie the yellow wires into these wires that these were originally connected to a little bit differently than what you see right here. Here I've got 2 colors coming out one end, 2 colors coming out the other, and then of course, you know, your black and white for your AC. Here I've only got 3 sets of colors, red, blue, and yellow, and the black and white for the AC. So I'll have to hook those up a little bit different. I'll show you how that's done. And as you can see, the length is a little different, so I'm going to have to drill a hole. Now, getting back to this, I know about the LED lights. Everybody says, you know, well, not everybody, but a few of you said, well, why don't you just go with the LED for, tubes, convert this thing over to LED? Well, if I wanted to do that, I'd have done it right in the beginning. I'd have gone ahead and got LED, but they're very expensive. And so I went ahead and bought a box of T12 fluorescents. And I still have some left. What do I do with them, you know? So we're just going to go ahead and stick with the T12s, and if I live long enough and they blow out and all that stuff, I'll go ahead and convert to LED. It's not a problem. I know how to do it. And you know, let me tell you, by the time I get ready to do that, if I'm still alive, they probably have something even better than the LEDs. So let's go ahead and get that thing fixed over there. Well, as I said earlier, the old ballast has 4 sets of wires, you know, to include a 5th set, which is the AC. The 4 sets of wires, the colored wires, are red, brown, yellow, and blue. But the ballast that I have purchased to replace it only has 3. It has blue, red, and yellow. And of course the black and white AC over here. So what I've done, this is the way you got to do it from what I understand. You have to hook up the blue, tie the blue wires to the blue wires, just like that. You know, 1 wire to each side. Same thing with the red. But what that does is it leaves us with 2 yellow wires hanging. That's it. But we have the brown wire set, and we have this yellow wire set left over coming out of the tube sockets. So what do? Well, according to the guy who sold it to me, of course the only thing you can do is trip a breaker even if it's wired wrong, but he said you take one of the yellow wires that's left coming out of the ballast and you hook it together with these. You strip all 3 back and wire all 3 of them together with a wire nut. That takes care of the yellow coming out of the tube socket. And then the other yellow wire that you have left over, you do the same thing over here for the brown wires that are left over. You wire all 3 of them together. And that's what he said. And that's what I'm going to do. And then we'll see what, you know, how it works when we hit the switch. If I can last that long, because it is really hot out here. So I'll temporarily hook everything up with wire nuts. We'll hit the switch. If it works tomorrow morning, I'll finish it when it's a lot cooler. Okay, she's all wired up. I've got the 2 blues coming from the light socket, the tube socket, hooked to the 2 blue wires coming out of the ballast. I got the 2 red wires hooked individually to the 2 red wires. I've got 1 of the leftover yellow wires from the ballast connected to the brown wires, all 3 connected together. And then I've got the other yellow wire connected to the 2 yellow wires coming out of the other light, all 3 together, although I can't figure out how that works. That's what he said to do. And then I've got my black wire and my white wire connected together, black and white to white to white, black to black, from the power coming into this line right here to the ballast. Let's see what happens. Like I said, about the only thing going to go wrong is the breaker trip. I decided to just put 1 bulb in for the test. If it blows out both of them before the breaker trips, these things aren't cheap, you know. So let's go over here to the old breaker box and do step 1. The lights go on. And here we are with the switch. Fire in the hole. Son of a gun if it doesn't work. I'm just going to let that thing sit there and burn for a while and see if it's going to stay on or go out. Well, so far so good. I think I'll shut it off and put the second bulb in. Well, I'm sorry to say, after putting the second bulb in, only the first one lit. Kind of strange. And I have switched bulbs. Now what I have not done, maybe I should take down the one that's not lighting, move the one that is lighting over to there and see what happens. Let's do that before we quit for the day. Well, she's not working on that one side, so there's definitely something wrong with one of the tube sockets. And we will work on it tomorrow. Without drawing this thing out any longer than I have to, I went ahead and removed the tube sockets, and then they do come apart. You just got to unsnap the clips. There's two at the top. And this particular model, they're not all the same, of course, but it's cheaply made, very cheaply made. And what happens is the two pins, let me zoom in here. The two pins, when you first put this thing, when you first put the bulb in, the two pins, one pin is here and one pin is there, and then you rotate. You know, you take the bulb and you rotate it around, and when you do, the pins snap under this, into this little notch, and then snap into the other pin, snaps into this little notch, and there you have your contact. Well, one of these here was not close enough, and I think what was happening, it was not making contact when the tube was rotated. Only one of the pins was contacting. So I've gone ahead and made a few adjustments. I bent it this way and bent it that way. And we'll go ahead and put it back together, and hopefully it'll work. And I also went ahead and ohmed out all the wires from where they just push in these holes on the bottom. They push in, and then they have these little things they just wedge into, and they just wedge through it. Let me get a little better light here. See, they just wedge. There you go. They just wedge underneath those little leaves, and they do ohm out. So all four of the wires in these two bulbs ohm out, and we're going to go ahead and take it back out and put it all back together. And they snap right. I mean, they clip right. In order to get them out of the fixture, all you have to do is press in these. I'm going to use this one here. See that little clip? Let me see a little clip right there. And then there's one on the other side. See, you can see right there by looking at them. You just squeeze them together with your fingers, like so. And then the thing just comes right out of the hole that you're sitting in. Cheap affair, but it is functional, and I don't mind that too much. I just don't like this really thin, cheap crap. Oh well, good old Mexico, I think, made these. To put them back together, all I have to do is slip these two tabs you see sticking up on this side and that center one there in the holes. Just like so. Just stick them right on in there like that, and then just snap them together. That's it. She's done. Let's go out and put it back together. The last thing I've got here came from one of our good subscribers over in England. I believe it's England. I never really found out where he was from. I'm pretty sure it's England. The stamp is, it's got a British stamp on it. Of course, that doesn't mean that he's from exactly England, but I think he is. It's from, it says Richard UK. Let me see if I can zoom in on there. Richard UK. I guess that UK stands for United Kingdom. So I guess he is from UK. But there again, I don't know if he's from England. He could. I guess the UK involves a couple of. I never could figure out that Britain, England, and UK business. They got three names for the same place. Anyway, and it looks like Suki the cat. I don't know if that's Surrey. It might be Surrey. But if it's Suki, guess what? I have a guy I worked with at the job I just retired from, and his wife had a Shih Tzu dog, I think it was, named Suki. Cutest little thing. Anyway, he sent this card, and inside the card were packages of seeds. Garlic chives, and then some more French breakfast. I think I ran out of French breakfast radishes. Of course, it didn't do me much good to plant radishes this year, did it? With the flood washing them all away. And then, of course, we have some Johnson's delicious bite-sized fruit for greenhouse. Well, that's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of those. And in the bottom of the envelope that they came in, this envelope right here, there were a bunch of seeds floating around in it. And I scarfed those up and rescued those out. Those are in this bag right here. We got them all sitting down there in the corner. We couldn't figure out if they were radish seeds or where they came from, but they were there. We're not going to waste them, that's for sure. Next spring is when we'll be using these. I might even try to plant some in the fall, depending on how hot it is. Anyway, Richard's card says retirement. It's a time to soak up the sunshine, dance in the rain, and follow your dreams. That's the plan, you know. It's supposed to be anyway. Wishing you a retirement that's everything you've always hoped it would be. Enjoy yourself to John and family. Hope you have happy retirement. Well, thank you, Richard. You're a fine feller. Scholar and a gentleman. I do appreciate that. And you will see me plant these seeds at a later date. And we all know what that means. Shout out to Richard, UK. Alright, here's how they go in. You just stick them on up in there like that, down through the hole. And then they just pull from the bottom. And there it is. Was that a piece of cake or not? We'll put the other one in, put the bulb in, and give it another fire in the hole. Once again, breaker on. Fire in the hole. Nothing. What could that possibly be? Well, it's possible I have it wired wrong. I know one side is right. Let's try the other side. Let's redo a little wiring here. What I had originally was a yellow wire, you know, hooked to the blue here. No, I had blue hooked to blue, and then I had the yellow wire, one of the yellow wires hooked to the other end of the bulb, and then I hooked the remaining yellow wire to the yellow wires. If you'll go back and check that out, that's the way I had it. Well, what I decided to do was both of these yellow wires had to be hooked to the same end of the bulb. That was the problem. And then I wound up having to connect the blue wires coming out of the ballast to the brown wires, which is where I originally had this yellow wire connected to. So let's see what happens now. I don't know why I didn't put them on the same end. I should have wired, so you can see here, you can see there that both of the leftover yellow wires are now on that end of the fixture, not one on one end and one on the other. Here we go, fire in the hole. Let me back up here a little bit. There we go. All is well. You see, I've said this 1,000 times in all the videos I've done. It may take a day, a week, a month, a year, but we always fix it. Always fix it. Well, this is it. The final hoorah. I've got it all buttoned up, real neat looking and everything, just like the rest. If it doesn't come on now, well, I guess I'll just have to go in and fix it again. Here we go. Okay, this job is done. Time to move on to something else. I've had fun working in the old shop today, especially with little Johnny Mathis. Oh, this is great. This is great. Got our first power strip in, anchored to the wall, nice and tight, good to go. I think what I'm going to do though is cut this cord, run it up the wall, and run it straight into this outlet right here through one of these, punch out one of these things and make it hardwired in. I don't ever plan to move it while I'm alive, so why not, you know? How about a little Eagles? This 8-track tape was sent to me by Atco 21117. I never forgot it, Atco. I still play it. It's good tape. Alright, I think what I'm going to do is wrap this video up with us putting the, well, I don't know, I may come back and show the results of it. Wifey decided to add a rack of ribs to the pork roast and get it in the smoker today. So that's what we're going to do, which means I'll probably have to use 2 containers of that mesquite. Well, let's get it in there. Well, she's all done. Now I ask you, does that look yummy or does that look yummy? I can't wait to try it. I'll let you know how it tastes in the next video. Until next time, this is John.